CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 4, Part 9, Audio by Renee Matthew. Poor rural families started seeking job in the urban centers because of these conditions. The powerful landlords did not allow them to survive in their own lands. It was becoming very difficult for them to survive there. That was the main reason. The introduction of machines in the cotton industry actually threw away or accosted, you can say, thousands of handloom weavers out of work and into poverty because machines were doing most of the work. It was increasing the productivity scale also. And it was very difficult to compete labor with machines, and that was one reason why they did not want manual power. From the 1790s, something happened. These weavers began to demand a legal minimum wage. Okay, so these weavers said, we have to get a minimum wage. It's not that you can just pay us the way you like. And that was refused by the parliament. See, the people were asking for very basic needs. They did not want more things. They just wanted the government to allow them to give their basic needs, which also was deprived of them. They went on strike because of that, and they were dispersed by force. They were not allowed to strike or even go through these agitations. And because of desperation in Lancashire, something happened. The cotton weavers started destroying the power looms, which they believed had destroyed their livelihood. So people started destroying these power looms. They said that it's only because of these machines that we are thrown out of the factories. So they started destroying the machines now. Okay, very, very innocent kind of revenge, I can tell. And there were a lot of resistance to the introduction of machines in the woolen knitting industry in Nottingham. Protest also took place in Leicestershire and Derbyshire. So all these places, you can see from the beginning of the slide itself, here we have the problem here in Lancashire, then Nottingham, Leicestershire and Derbyshire. So all these places actually gave a great stress and tension to the workers. Now in Yorkshire, shearing frames were destroyed by the croppers. All the shearing frames were destroyed by the croppers, and they were the ones who traditionally sheared sheep by hand. So it was actually destroyed by the croppers, and the first step was to destroy the machine. And there were a lot of riots which took place by 1830. Farm laborers found their jobs threatened by new threshing machines. They were actually threatened, and they separated the grain from the husk. Because the farmers used to separate the grain from husk, now all the job was done by the machines. They were very agitated, and the rioters smashed these machines. So that was a huge process where the machines were actually destroyed. So 9 of the people were hanged because of this protest, and 450 were sent to Australia as convicts. So they used to transport these people, they used to deport these people to elsewhere, and they declared them as convicts. Now this person, the movement was known as Luddism. It was led by the charismatic General Ned Ludd, who exemplified another type of protest. He was a person who stood with the workers and actually gave a lead in these protests. So Luddism was not merely a backward-looking assault on machines. We cannot just deprive telling that, oh, see how they're destroying the machines. They have to actually destroy the parliament and not the machines. But General Ned gave another idea to it. Its participants, what did they demand? They demanded only a minimum wage. Was that sanctioned? No. Okay, so control over the labor of women and children, work for those who had lost their jobs because of the coming of machinery. Okay, and the right to form trade unions so that they could legally present these demands. So these were the demands of the Luddist movement, where they demanded, the first point is to demand for minimum wage. Second point is to, reduce the control over the labor of women and children to make it a bit more flexible. Then especially job for people who were actually thrown out of their present jobs, and also the right to allow them to form trade unions. Now, during the early years of industrialization, what happened is the working population possessed neither the vote or legal methods to express their anger. They did not have voting methods. They did not have to, like, the government did not have to fear any kind of agitation because everything was under their control. Okay, so they also did not have any means to express their anger at the drastic manner in which their lives had been overturned. So their lives were actually overturned. Suddenly they lost the kind of life that they had. Of course, we cannot say that the life that they had earlier was so nice, but at least they could manage to afford their livelihood. But now it is like things got very difficult and different. In August 1819, 80,000 people gathered peacefully at St. Peter's Fields in Manchester. Why? To demand democratic rights, of political organization, of public meetings, and of the freedom of the press. So 80,000 people got together and they decided to just ask for their democratic rights. What were the rights? It was of public meetings, of freedom of press, because all these rights were curbed from the common people. Now look at how they actually got together. The pictures show how they got together. And this was like suppressed very badly. They were brutally suppressed. And this came to be later known as the famous Peterloo Massacre. And the rights they demanded were denied by the 6 Acts. So whenever people started asking for right, what did the government do? They just brutally suppressed them. Okay, and they kind of passed more acts which curbed their prevailing rights. Whatever rights they had now, that was also taken away. So that was done by the 6 Acts, which was passed by the Parliament the same year. So now they lost many things. They were not able to cope up with all these things. Now these extended the restrictions on political activity. They were not allowed to actually form groups. This extended restrictions to the political activity, which introduced in the 2 Combination Acts of 1795, where people were not allowed to even meet on a political ground. Many restrictions on political activity was actually caused. There were some gains after this. After the Peterloo Massacre, of course, there were some changes. The need to make the House of Commons more representative, because they had House of Commons, they had so many people representing their common population. But what were they telling? What was the discussion going on? So after this, the House of Commons had more representatives from the common people. It was recognized by the liberal political groups. They started recognizing them, and the Combination Acts were repealed in 1824 and 1825. So they started getting recognized by these liberal political groups through the House of Commons. Representatives was high. Now we have the reforms through laws. How did the reforms take place? How attentive was the government to the conditions of work of women and children? Okay, how was the condition so favorable to the work of women and children? The laws which were passed in 1819 prohibited, it stopped the employment of children under the age of 9 in factories. Okay, so many people, so many children who did not even cross the age of 9 were not allowed to work in the factories. And it also limited the hours of work of those, especially between the ages of 9 and 16, to 12 hours a day. That itself was actually high. Okay, they used to work day and night. So now the number of hours was reduced to 12 hours a day. And that was a real, a relief for all these children. Now, I have given the picture of law, but this law lacked the powers needed for its enforcement. Laws were passed. Okay, there was no, scarcity of passing laws, but enforcing the laws was very difficult. It was very difficult to enforce these laws. It was not until 1833, after intense protest. After this, people started protesting more. After more protest only, what happened? In the north of England, an act was passed. A final act was passed only after intense protest. So we should understand that the first law, which was passed in 1819 itself, said that children need not work for long hours, and children who did not cross the age of 9 need not work in factories. But now what happened? Another act was passed 3 points are there which permitted children under 9 to be employed only in silk factories. Children could work only in silk factories now. It also limited the number of hours for older children. Older children need not work for more number of hours. It limited the hours of work for older children. And it also provided a number of factory inspectors. People started getting appointed as factory inspectors to ensure that these acts were followed thoroughly, that it was enforced. If it was not enforced, they will definitely close down the factory. So that was the kind of punishment which was given. So finally in 1847, after more than 30 years of agitation, the 10 Hours Bill was passed. The 10 Hours Bill. Now what is this 10 Hours Bill? This limited the hours of work for women and young people and secured a 10-hour day for male workers. It limited the hours of work for both women and young people, and it also secured a 10-hour day for male workers. So that was the kind of condition given for this particular act. These acts specifically should be enforced, or it was enforced in the textile industries where women and children worked, but not to the mining industry. Only to the textile industries it was actually enforced, and not in the mining industries. The Mines Commission of 1842, they started protesting now. They asked the government, they set up by the government, revealed that working conditions in mines had actually become worse since the Act of 1833. Because more children had been put to work in coal mines. So that was something which was distressing. So why only the textile industries are given the lease? Why? That is the condition. Why only these people are given the lease? Because children worked in mines also, and now the working conditions in mines were not very favorable. We have to do something to lease there also. So what happened is, the Mines Commission of 1842 was something which was not at all favoring the conditions in mines. There was another act which was passed, the Mines and Collieries Act of 1842. It banned children under 10 and women from working underground, because when they were working underground it was really difficult for them to prolong there, and the working conditions were not favorable. So this particular act which was passed, Mines and Collieries Act, banned the children under 10 to work, and also women were not allowed to work underground. Fiddler's Factory Act, laid down in 1847, said that children under 18 and women should not work more than 10 hours a day. So look at these acts. Initially children were put to work in coal mines. Then they banned the children under 10 to not work, and women also to not work underground. Then children under 18 were not allowed to work, not under 10, and they should not work for more than 10 hours. There's a lot of fluctuation which is happening in these points, right? A lot of changes, a lot of gap is there in what they're trying to say. These laws were to be enforced by factory inspectors, and the factory inspectors had to make sure that these laws were enforced and these were in the right way. But this was very difficult to be done, because the factory workers, every time they had to keep a track of what was happening there, and it had to be ensured that they followed these rules, otherwise the factories could be shut down. The inspectors were poorly paid, and that was one reason why they did not keep a check on it, and they easily bribed by factory managers. Many factory managers bribed the factory inspectors. The inspectors were paid very badly, so when they got money from the factory managers to shut their mouth and just allow people to be, like how they worked in the early days, of course they were very happy, and parents started lying about the age of the children so that they could work and contribute to the family income. So many people were supporting what was happening because they just wanted to have money. See, when some measure is made by the government, it has to be practical. That practical side was not looked into, And people also, they were like, if they are not made to work, then how will we satisfy ourselves? How will we get the money? Either they have to raise the wages of the adults or the women or men, that they will not do, but they will reduce the number of working hours for the children only because there were protests. So because of all these reasons, it was not very practical. It was an ideal solution which was given, but nothing was practical over here. So parents started lying about the children's age, and that was a kind of loophole there. So it was not very effective. The laws were also not very effective because of these reasons.